Well, first off, nice to meet both of you. Excited to sort of work with you. Thank you so much for sending the videos as well. That was a huge help, and you did a great job with the videos and the setup of it. So, well, the way we usually start this is we'll go through the video.
Downstairs, my goodie bags. You take this downstairs.
Do you want me to mute that one?
Here, have your headphones in.
There we go. I think you're muted now. Yeah, you're still muted. Good to go. So I'm going to record this session so you guys can have it. I'll send it to you at the end of it. But talk to me a little bit about what you're sort of trying to improve, what you think you need to improve on, what you've been told in the past, just to give me a sense of sort of where you're at and what you're trying to work on.
I'm trying to work on getting more power in my shots. I think I don't know what happened, but my serve was a bit more powerful, and then I lost some of that last year. Was it? I've been working on that too, but also my forehand and backhand are not as, I don't know how to say it, as I'd like it to be, I guess.
Sure. So there was a couple things on the serve. One, it looks you've got like really natural, we typically call a live arm. You've got a live arm, which is awesome. But there's a couple things you do that is right now zapping you with power. Your sinking isn't perfect, which is great because it gives us something to work on. So I think the easiest way to go about this, I'm going to share my screen and we'll go through the video a little bit. So let me know if you can see my screen.
We can see it.
Perfect. Okay, so does this look familiar?
Yeah.
Yep, perfect. So you got a pretty unique start. You get into this sort of low crouch position, which is fine. It's all style. There's nothing wrong at all with it. The challenge is from there, you go into the release stage. So what we do is you release the ball rather low, meaning that the ball comes out of your fingers lower than where most of the really good servers do. So typically it's about eye level where the ball comes out of the hand. Notice how you're sort of releasing it at about shoulder height. So the ball's coming out of your hand at shoulder height. So that normally gives you a little bit more inconsistency with your ball toss. Do you feel like your ball toss is a little inconsistent?
I don't know. It's, I guess, yeah, I've been moving it around a little bit. But,
yeah. Do you feel like you're sort of chasing certain balls, like things are getting out in front of you sometimes? And, so that the easiest way to fix that is literally just to try to release the ball at eye level. So see where the green line is right here. That's kind of ideally where your arm should be when the ball comes out. So that's just something small to work on. And I've got a whole kind of checklist sheet that I'll send you after this. We can walk through it that has all this mapped out as well. But here's just the video. So when you review this, you can kind of look at it and kind of work on it when you're going back to the practice court and try to see if you're actually able to make that adjustment.
Out of curiosity, it looks like she's like looking at the sky and not at the ball as she's releasing it. Is that a?
That's
is that an
okay.
issue?
Because she's looking at where the ball's about to be. So that's not a problem. So most servers actually do that. They're not going to look right at the ball at release. They're actually going to be looking up where the ball's about to be. So that's not something I'd be too concerned about. If it gets out of control, meaning that you're looking way up and your head's not balanced and stable, then it's something we do want to take a look at. But as of right now, that shouldn't potentially be a big issue. But this next space is kind of where we don't get into a really good load. So this is loading. This is where we want to be ideally. And the reason I've got the word grip up there is you showed me your grip on the video to start with. And then the grip you have here, as you go through your motion, it changes. Do you realize that?
No.
Okay, so you rotate your grip. So when you start here, your grip is pretty much a continental grip. You know, you V down on top of the racket. Very, very good grip at this point. So you start with the right grip. Something happens from here. Even here, you've got a good grip. Notice how the grip is okay there. Do you see that? But from here to this frame, notice how you've opened your hand. You've gone to more of a forehand grip, and you've got what's called palm open. Have you been told that before? Have you noticed that? Okay,
No.
so what this does is this creates an inability to get into the next stages optimally. And what this hurts you on is, notice here, you don't get into what we call a true cocking position, where that elbow is pointing to the ball or the sky. The tip of the racket needs to be pointing to the heels. And you don't really achieve either of that. So you're not syncing your chain very well. So it's a small thing early on that has this cascade of events throughout your motion that zaps you of power. So it's not surprising that you feel like, hey, I'm not as powerful as I should be. Because you've got really good ability to make contact with the ball after this, because what you do here and here is hard to do from the position that you were in. So most of the work that you need to spend time on is going to be here, making sure you keep that grip. There's a little device that you may want to get. It's only a few dollars. It's a grip assist device that you put on the grip, and it forces your hand to stay in that position. So it has a little knob on it, and I can send you the link to it. And it'll keep your hand in that position. So it's really good to practice if you've got an issue of shifting your grip as you serve. So does that make some sense? What I'm saying is that sort of kind of clear on where the area of focus needs to be. So notice here how we really don't use the back leg at all. Notice how we've got this position here where the knee sort of collapses, back knee collapses. That just means we're not loading the back leg. So you're only using half your loading capacity right now. So you're never going to hit the ball as hard as you should. So what we want to work on is loading into the back leg. And I'm going to send you some exercises that you can do to work on that. So some serving drills and also some strength training drills and power drills that can work on that back leg and getting you more comfortable loading into that leg. So it's relatively common. We see this, especially at your age, to see that back leg not being engaged, not being used as well as it should be. But the good thing is we know how to fix it. We know how to work on it really specifically. Any questions on that position? Okay, good. So as we mentioned here, a couple things you're going to hear me say a few times is we want you to stay side on a little bit longer, meaning that you don't want to open your hips up and you don't want to over rotate too early. So right here, you're starting to rotate a little bit early. You ideally right now, your left shoulder should be pointing still towards that right net post. So you should be more side on like that rather than starting to open. So you're opening very early, and that then becomes an arm action, and your arm does majority of the work. And that's why you're feeling as well like you're not maybe getting as much power as you should, because you're relying on your upper body to generate most of it right now instead of your lower body and your core. So right now you should still be pushing up through your legs, through your core, and you're over relying on your arms at the moment. And again, all this stuff sounds like a lot, but it really isn't. It all comes down to if we can get this position a bit better and that position really, really, really good, everything else works seamlessly. All this stuff happens really quick. Like, you know how quick it is. If I, show you the video of in real time, it goes through really fast. But as I mentioned, you're going to hear this opening up early. That's going to be one of your goals over the next month, is to try to stay side on as long as you can and try to keep that left shoulder more to the right net post as long as you can. The good thing is you get off the ground great. Your arms up in a good position. But the reason that opening up early is a bit of a concern is the next frame. Notice here how we have the green lines. we have your upper body going forward, but your lower body sort of staying straight. And that's not ideal. Ideally, we want to be going more on a 45-degree angle, your entire body, rather than having this big kind of right angles nearly. And you're doing a great job to make really good contact here. You're really high, but you're still leaving about 6 to 8 inches on the table of height, which is not great. Ideally, you want to be fully extended at this point. And the second thing is what the 154 degrees or so right here. We call that the Statue of Liberty position, which isn't a good thing. It means your arm is pretty much like this, like 150, 160, this angle right here. Whereas all the great servers are about 120 to 130. They're out here, but they're more side on when they make contact. So again, we've just got to get you to be a bit more side on. Right now, you're very forward facing, meaning your chest is facing the net and you're in this position rather than that position. So again, you can't really fix this at this stage of the motion. You have to go back to here and then here to make the adjustment. If we fix these positions, this position is going to look automatically way better.
Okay.
So is having the weight on the front foot rather than on the back foot cause kind of that chain of opening early and
Exactly.
Okay.
All the way, it's a weight shift issue. So your weight is shifted forward before you've stored it actually and released it effectively. So the only way you can now make contact with the ball is to get into this position because you have to go up and then you have to collapse and lean forward to make contact. Whereas if you're side on, loading the back leg better, you're actually going to come out on a 45-degree angle. You just got to think about, you want to store energy in the equal and opposite direction to where you want to end up. So yeah, that's the objective of all this is let's store energy back and down so we can go up and out. Right now, you're storing energy really straight down and even a little bit forward. So if we go back to this one, notice how the energy already is shifted forward a little bit and down. So your only option is to go up, which is not good. We don't want to go straight up. We want to go up and out. But the only way to go up and out is to first store our energy back and down so that we can easily release up and out. I know it's a lot. It sounds kind of complicated, but it really isn't. It's really as simple as store your energy back and down and try to release it up and out. If you just focus on that for the first week, and then make the grip adjustments a big one because you kind of can see here how open it is. So if we have the racket here, you're like this at this point, whereas we want to be more like that at this point. You want to have your elbow pointing to the sky, tip of the racket down. You can't do that though with the grip that you've got. It's impossible. It's impossible to get into that position unless we adjust the grip. So a grip change, I know, is a bit, you know, for some people it's a little challenging because the first couple serves you hit, you're probably going to slice it into the side fence. So you have to just realize that if you have the exact same motion with the grip change, it's not going to help you. So if you're going to do the grip change, you got to make sure you stay side on and you come up in the right direction. Otherwise, if you're open like this with this grip change that we're talking about, you're going to slice the ball and it's going to go into the left side fence. So do you guys work together? Do you have someone else that helps you? Is it just you two sort of working on this?
Yeah.
mainly
Okay.
the two of us.
So that's great though, because then you're all on the same page with it. And I just didn't want to talk about grips and changes if someone else is working with you. I didn't want to sort of, you know, get in the way of whatever else they may have been working on.
Nope.
Okay, good. So that makes it easy. And then we get to contact and then post contact. The reason you hit so well right now is notice that arm action. You got really, really good arm action. Like that, the way your arm moves is a really good sign and tells us you've got a lot of extra power there that you have access to. The challenge is notice how your lower body and your core is pretty much going backwards.
Yeah.
See that? You see how, you know, you're pretty much 70% of your body is actually on or behind the baseline at this point. That's not really where we want to be. We want to have our body in front of the baseline at this point. You want to be 3-4 feet sometimes in front of the baseline with your body. Doesn't mean you'll land 3 or 4 feet in front, but you want to be with some of it up there, and then your feet will land sort of underneath you a little bit. But notice how far your racket is in front, which is great. It's nearly 6 feet in front of you, but notice how the rest of your body's all the way back. And it's impossible to hit it hard with half your body going this way and half your body going that way. That's not ideal biomechanics, huh?
Oh.
And you
So
can
it should
see
be
it
kind of
though.
a straight line?
Yeah,
The feet
exactly.
to the head?
Exactly.
Okay.
That's the goal. The goal is you pretty much want a 45-degree angle. So you want an angle from the heels to the head in that position, all going up and out into the court. A little bit of collapsing is normal, like, a few degrees. That's not a big deal, but not where the butt is going this way and the racket and the head is going that way. That you just kind of realize that you're breaking the chain. And so if we fix that, your power goes up through the roof. So this is exciting. I mean, I was glad that you said you wanted to get more power, because that was the first thing I noticed with the videos is you're definitely leaving 5 to 10 miles on the table just by how your mechanics are. So you make this adjustment, your speed and power goes up immediately without doing anything different, really, just getting you to sink it the right way. And then notice how on the one on the left, these are two different videos, obviously, but the one on the left, you land kind of inside the court, which is good. The one on the right, you sort of land on or behind the baseline, which is not good. That means that, even the one on the left, you could land an extra foot inside that. But the left is the minimum standard that we would want to land. So what I always recommend is either take video of it, or if you can have someone, if someone's watching you, get some chalk out there on the hard court and just put a chalk mark every spot your toe lands and see how consistent your landing is. If you're landing 1-2 feet in front of the baseline, the next one's on the baseline, the next one's left by a foot, the next one's right by a foot, you know that you aren't very consistent. So the goal is you should be landing within an inch or two of the same position each time. That means you've got a consistent, repeatable motion, and you can do it over and over again. Okay, so any questions sort of on the video, and then I'm going to shift into, okay, so what do we do now? So if we've kind of figured out some areas to focus on, do you have any questions about this? And again, we're recording it, so I'll be able to send it to you. And you can kind of review it on your own time as well. But just want to make sure that some of these areas make sense to you. And if you got any questions, feel free to ask.
So just looking at these two pictures, it looks like she's more left as well as back on the one on the right
Mm-hmm.
than she is on the one on the left.
Correct.
Is that a toss chasing type of situation, or?
Opening up too early is the main issue. And the question is why? Is it just a loading issue, or is the toss getting too far left? It's a combination normally. But even if your toss is a little left, if you had better mechanics and staying side on, you would still be able to maintain a good position, even if the toss is over there a little bit. So it's mainly because you're opening up too early. So your goal is going to be to try to stay side on as long as possible.
You have any questions?
No.
All right.
Okay, so let me switch quickly to, where is it? Here it is. So this is what I'm going to send you after we get done here as well. So let me put this on. Make it a little bigger. So you're going to get this in the email when we get done with the call, but let me move down. Just talks about the 8 stages and gives you some reference points to it. So notice how John Isner, for example, how well he stays side on. So stage 3, the loading, this is where we want to get you to. That's the big position that you don't get into effectively yet. If we can get you in this position exactly like this, that's going to make all the difference in the world for you. So that's the goal. Notice here, elbow to the sky and tip of the racket straight down to the heels. Those are the positions we need you to get into, and then everything else will take care of itself. Because you do this position really well, even though this position, this position, this position, and this position isn't ideal. So that's how you're able to make serves currently. And, you sounds like you're pretty successful with it. But you can see you're leaving a lot on the table that you're too good an athlete for you to be leaving all that on the table. Because you can do some really, really cool things with your arm, which is not everyone can do that, which is awesome. You've got some really good ability there, but you're not using your core and your lower body very well right now. Once we get that engaged and we get that using it the way you should, you'll look a lot similar to this.
Hopefully she'll grow the foot too.
Yeah.
She'll be 6'8", like, isn't it?
Yeah, that always helps. There's no doubt about it. So this is the checklist, just so you have it. So at the start, just the grip is something we're going to try to address if you guys are okay with it. Again, grip changes I know can be a little challenging, but I'm not sure if you've ever tried to make an adjustment there. Have you ever tried to make an adjustment there?
No.
We
I
didn't
didn't-
realize she was switching it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, because you start with the right grip. So it's not that you're not realizing it. You realize that that's the grip you want to start with, but you really turn it over. So that's something that I'm curious over the next few days, if you try it, how it goes. Please give me some feedback and say, hey, it's working really well, or yeah, I'm getting it most of the time, or I'm not sure if I'm getting it or not. That's something where you'll have to film, and you'll have to film from pretty close and zoom in and just make sure that it's staying in the position that you want. Releasing too low from the hands. All the red areas are areas that we can kind of evaluate and look for. So you can do your own assessment each time you serve off video, and you can kind of go through and see how many of these you're starting to move from needs attention to it actually looks pretty good now. So the hip turn is the big one. We want to get a little bit of turn, the back leg load. Your elbow's high, but I wouldn't worry about that right now, because the reason the elbow's high like that instead of down there is because you're not loading the back leg. The moment you load the back leg, the elbow drops automatically. So that's going to take care of itself. Early racket drop is this position. You kind of really get into that very early because we haven't loaded the legs. The moment you load the legs, it delays the racket drop, which is what we want. So all these are kind of connected. So once you get your lower body engaged better, all these other areas work way simpler, way easier, things like that. So the whole purpose of the checklist is just so that you've got something to visually look at when you're practicing serves. And so over the next week, if you can, try to do a lot of serves with video, meaning you hit a serve, video it, look on your checklist, try to quickly see, am I hitting all these positions or not? Which ones am I not? And try to make those adjustments. So I know it's a lot of information. It's one of those things where it's better to have it all, but then when you go practice, you only want to focus on 2 or 3 things. So I wouldn't worry about anything past stage 3 right now. So let's focus on really the grip, the release point, and then a couple things in here, which is basically the back leg load and the rotation. If you focus on those things, that's all we care about in week 1, is just trying to focus in on stage 1, 2, and 3. Does that make some sense? And then we'll get to 4, 5, and 6 after we've improved stage 3. And you'll be surprised because stage 4, 5, and 6 improves rapidly the moment you get stage 3 right. Okay, so that's kind of the checklist. And then here is some exercises you can do. So as well as just serving, which is important, and trying to work on those things, which continue to serve. How many serves a week do you normally do?
Not a lot. During practice, in the off season, I do a lot more. I don't know how many.
Yeah, she just got out of the high school season, so
In which we didn't do many at all. Like maybe twice a week we'd do a serving thing.
Okay, so do you think over the next week or 2, you can get out there on your own with a basket and kind of serve 30, 40 serves? Just try to work on some of this? Yeah, because it's going to take some reps for you to make some of these adjustments. So you want to sort of go about it relatively deliberately and try to improve some of those areas. So these exercises are all linked to a video. So you can click on this and it'll take you to a video. Okay, so you'll see the video, you can watch the demonstration, and then you can just practice it. And most of these can be done on the court or off the court, like in your backyard or in the driveway or something. So you don't always have to be at the court to do these, but they're really focusing on just engaging that back leg. That's nearly all these videos, different exercises that you can do to work on your back leg and getting the load and getting into that position. Does that make some sense? So again, these are just guides. You don't have to follow it exactly. You know, if you do it, you know, twice a week, that's fine. You know, 8 reps, don't do more than 8 at a time, just from a rest standpoint. And if you know, 2 sets is usually where we start. If you want to get to 3 sets after a week or 2 and it feels good, that's fine. But again, it's the goal here is we're just trying to retrain you to use that back leg. And we've got a whole series of exercises and things that can help with that. So the first week will be a lot of you guys watching video, practicing it, shadowing it, trying to get a feel for it. And as that starts to feel more comfortable and more natural, then you'll shift more into hitting serves and things like that. And then these two are more some stretches. So if we can loosen your hips up a little bit, it'll be even easier for you to turn. So those are some stretches that you can do sort of whenever you want. They only take that whole section there of those 4 stretches, maybe takes 5-7 minutes to do. So you can do that most evenings or during the day if you've got time a little bit. Then we've got a couple stretches for your upper body to try to get you better in this position, because odds are you're probably a little tight through here. It's not that comfortable for you to get in this position, and that's why you're not getting in. So we want to loosen that up a little bit with those stretches. They're basic stretches that'll help with your arm position and your body position there. And then here's just one. We won't work on stage 5 right now. I don't want you to go to this yet, but once you get stage 3 down, then in about 2 weeks, we're going to want to start doing these exercises for stage 5, which are arm exercises and trying to get speed drills and things like that to get more power and speed. So for right now, just focus on stage 3, and you can do the stretches for stage 4 as well. Does that sound like a plan?
Sounds good.
Awesome. Do you guys have any questions on any of this? I know it's a lot. It's like drinking from a fire hose, but I want to make sure I give it all to you so you can kind of, you know, process it, you know, think about it, send me an email with questions as you go through and as things start to change and adapt and you start feeling good about stuff, or if there's stuff that isn't feeling good, let me know as well and be like, hey, this doesn't feel right. Can you take a look? And feel free to shoot me a video of you working on some of this, and you know, we can make some corrections as we go. So that's kind of the goal, is to try to really focus on those stage 2 and 3 for the next week or 2. Try to really make some changes there, load the back leg, things like that, and then see how that's progressing before we get into stage 4 and 5.
Okay.
Great. So I'm going to
does
send
it-
you all this in an email in probably about 15 minutes. So you'll have it all. And I'll send you the link to the video as well.
Okay. Does it matter when I do the exercises? Like, should I do it before? It doesn't matter.
No, I wouldn't be too super tired though. So like if you do it after practice or at the end of the day, after you just try not to do it when you're completely spent. It would be better to do it sort of when you're a little fresher, so you're more engaged and you can really focus in on it.
Okay. Sounds good.
Awesome. Wonderful. Well, I'm going to get working on this and send you guys some stuff, and please reach out. Send me some video in the next few days. Once you feel like you're like, yeah, this is starting to feel more like what I think it needs to feel like. And we can say, yeah, that looks great, or no, let's work on this a little bit more. And then we'll just keep progressing from there.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Wonderful. Great meeting you as well.
Thanks, Mark.
No problem. Take care.
All
You
right.
too.
Bye.